Games, board games. I might be talking about board games, but I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing, and I am going to be talking how game design is not just experimentation and playtesting, but also pondering. I think that there needs to be some sitting or walking or whatever, showering or whatever you do, but actually put yourself in a position where you could be pondering. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. 10 a.m. ish UK time. Time for Busy Beats and Board Game Leather episode 916. Today, I want to chat about how, yes, game design is about coming up with your ideas and getting them in onto the paper, coming up with something and then doing it, repeating it, observing or play testing, but in an experimental way. But also, you need to make some quiet time for yourself. You need to make some time when your mind isn't busy just doing the easy thing, playing some game on Board Game Arena or watching a film or whatever, or even procrastinating by watching a video like this one, which is meant to be telling about how to do game design, when really you should just be getting stuck in and doing it, because I believe that you already have the power to do the thing. Do you know what I mean? Let's quickly talk about recent highlights, living life and seeing sights, recent highlights, playing games and other lights, recent highlights. I got some stuff ready to post. That's cool. Got myself showered and everything. That's cool. I've had a nice meeting with Kirsten Lunda yesterday. That was all good. And yeah, that's played a lot of games on Board Game Arena. I think I've got 138 left to go, and then I've played all 600 of them. Of course, more keep coming, but yeah, it doesn't mean that I know them all well, or there's a few that I still don't fully understand, but at least I got a taste of their interface and I got to see the game flow. Brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? Brilliant thing. Let's talk about quietness. Now, presumably you're watching this because you're, I don't know, bored, or maybe you're looking to learn something, or maybe you just really like the sound of my voice. I don't know. And if that's the case, then thank you very much. But sometimes just shutting off for just a moment, walking around, having some music that you no longer have to focus on, maybe Fly Me to 100 versions of Fly Me to the Moon that you're just enjoying, but it gives your whatever you're able to do, give your mind space to ponder, give your mind space to wander and to create and to do things, because we need space. And if we're always being bombarded by entertainment and stimulation from every side, then we don't necessarily have any time or space to actually create and make stuff. So yeah, that's my brilliant thing, is space and quietness sometimes. And that brings me to the main topic of the day. As always, feel free to comment, ask questions, fun, like, follow. And what I'm saying is that it's all well and good thinking that you're going to have some divine inspiration. That never happens. I mean, not in my experience, maybe for other people. It's a it's a rarity anyway. And my point is that, let's say you've got to work out some card effects. I mean, I have to work out some card effects, and that's not going to happen itself. It's not going to happen while I'm doing something else. It's going to happen when I'm sitting down and I've apportioned some time I've put a barrier almost around this time to say, this is time to do this thing, to show up, to do the thing, to sit down for at least 40 minutes, even if I don't come up with anything, and allowing myself that opportunity to ponder. Because what is game design? Yes, there's a lot of experimentation. You try the thing, you make the sheet, and then you think, well, in this version, triangle clearly won. In this version, triangle seemed to win. And in this version, it's a bit more iffy. Like maybe it's triangle, maybe it's circle. So maybe given that we swapped roles, maybe triangle is a little bit overpowered. And that's the kind of thing that experimentation is really good at. Experimentation for, is this game balanced? Is there something fun here? Are people going to laugh? Are people going to be intrigued? Are people going to be stimulated? What sorts of interpersonal relationships will build based on this game? All of these things are worth getting it in front of people, and hopefully you've got a vague idea, but then you put it in front of people, you see what happens, and then... But it's also about the pondering. Pondering before, pondering after, pondering in between. I mean, if I just playtest a million versions of this and I never really think analytically about it, well, that's not doing me any good. I need to come to some conclusions. The chat is as important as the playtest. I mean, the chat is kind of part of the playtest, but you know what I mean. If I'm watching other people play stuff, sure, I get a lot of information by observing, but it's important to corroborate that. Just double check, hey, is that how you felt? How did you feel during this? How did you feel during that? Get some information, ask them for some thumbs, which I always ask them to do at the same time so that people don't influence one another. So I say, like, is this a lifestyle game that you could see yourself actually doing deck construction for? And then people might do that, and then I ask them to explain themselves, because I don't want people to feel like, oh, I need to go with the group. And that sort of investigation, that sort of pondering, and it's not limited to that. It's also, okay, people felt this way. So how does that affect the way I need to build this game? And okay, my creatures are going to have defense and strength. So how does that affect the way that I'm going to put the modules for the creatures together? Okay, my game, it's always going to be lost by drawing these 6 cards that you start off in front of yourself, and if you lose life, you draw them, or if you don't, how is there some way that that's going to affect the flow of the game? And be mindful of, if you're making content for your game, like cards, or by which I mean like cards that might have additional rules on a typical expandable card game, or indeed cards that just have new trivia questions, whatever. Think about how this would affect the experience around the table, and it's about pondering this. It doesn't mean that every single card has to be pondered ad infinitum. It just means that you need to make time for the pondering, because the pondering is the main bit of game design, to my mind. And whilst the sexy part is playing with other people, seeing what they think, and then having a quick chat about it, but the real graft is in going back home, then being like, okay, well, I get what they're saying, okay, now let me rebalance all of these things, let me make a spreadsheet, let me write it out on big sheets of paper, whatever your note-taking method of choice, you need to make time for it. Make time for the pondering. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope that this has been something vaguely useful for you. And As always, I'm going to quickly ask you the question of the day. Question of the day. Here's a little question before we go on our way. My question of the day to you is, what do you like dominoes? I mean, I just thought of this because my ECG is kind of domino-shaped cards. And do you actually like dominoes? I'm not. mm, eh, mm, It, I never really super got into dominoes. I mean, I understand that at a high level, there's a bit of, okay, what does that person have? It feels very similar to trick-taking games, where after you've understood the rules, within maybe a few games, you're playing at, like, you'll have 90% of the win rate chance of someone who's playing perfectly, and then the remaining hundreds, however many games you play, will be to get that little eking out those little percentages. And there's so much luck in a game of dominoes or tricks, typical trick-taking card game, as I understand it, that I don't feel compelled to then work out what's going on and work out the strategy. And also, every advantage is kind of playing at the margins. That's how I feel about dominoes. Not to diss them. I mean, it's clearly great that it stuck around for so long, but what do you think? And as always, over to you. What are up to? You can share personally if you want to. I am going to be posting stuff, going to the bank, playtesting stuff, and also doing a good amount of writing and possibly pondering. So for now, recap and wrap up before we finish up. To recap and wrap up, playtest, make things, get them played, observe, talk, but it's also about the time on your own, pondering, writing it down, making the thing ready to be played, making sure that your next iteration is actually going to teach you something new rather than just, yeah, you could, in theory, playtest exactly the same version of the game 100 times, and then you'll be more certain about your findings. But that feels a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, Inefficient. That's the word. Good morning. I hope you're generally well. Um, So yes, all I've been saying today is that game design is about pondering. I've been saying that sometimes having a quiet moment is lovely. I talked about meetings with Kirsten, which was online, needing to go to the bank, and that's me, and lots of love. And I am, of course, stuffed by Bez in all of the places. You can check out all of my links: Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and stuffbybez.com/Discord, which will take you to my Discord. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Mike, for popping in. It's lovely to see you. And for now, just share, spread the word. And the only thing I'm going to say is, as always, hello, Oliver. Lovely to see you. And yes, I am just wrapping up. It's a very quick show today. Recently, if it's me and someone else, then I'll typically do about 40 minutes to 70 minutes. If it's me on my own, then I'm keeping these like a quick thing so that people can get the information and then be gone. But it's lovely to see. I was actually just listening to a bunch of your shows. And as always, bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye bye, bye bye. This is the end of the show. Bye bye, bye bye. And now it's time to go. Bye bye, bye bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye bye, bye bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye bye, bye bye. This is the end of the show. Bye bye, bye bye. And now it's time to go. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.